As soon as the Marlins had all the momentum, everything came crashing down.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And on today's show, I'm going to talk about the struggles for the Marlins. It's been awful since the Yankees series. The pitching staff has been struggling. Also preview Eury's start today against the Cleveland Guardians. It feels like a must-win. The season's slipping away. This road trip was imperative for the Marlins. It was going to make or break their season. There's still games to be played, but right now it sure feels like it's breaking their season. 4 straight losses for the Marlins now. Going back to the Braves series, they haven't won a game since Edward Cabrera's masterpiece in which he threw 8 innings, 1 run with 11 strikeouts. He's been awesome. Anytime Cabrera is pitching, it feels like the Marlins will win. That's how much confidence I have in him. But the team as a whole, they're scuffling big time. You lose 2 out of 3 to the Astros. You go into Truist Park, where you historically have struggled, and history proves correct. You lose 4 out of 5 there, and you start the second part of your road trip at Cleveland by losing a 1-run game because of a guy named Jose Ramirez and his ability to just crush baseballs. Ramirez is a superstar. The Marlins found that out the hard way. But the offense didn't do enough. The bullpen didn't do enough. And the starters, again, did not do enough to warrant a Marlins victory. More about the pitching staff in the next segment. But I just want to take a minute and kind of reflect upon the last week and a half of this season, the last week. The Marlins had all the momentum on their side. They were getting national headlines. They were being featured on prominent articles and MLB Network. This team, maybe they can make a run at the playoffs. It's wide open. The National League wildcard race was wide open, and it still is, except the Marlins are finding themselves trending downward in the standings instead of upward, closer to the top. With the Mets struggles, it was a perfect time for the Marlins to take advantage and inch closer to that third wildcard spot, especially given the fact that you're still going to play the Mets 7 times later in the year. So the Mets get swept by the Brewers last weekend. That coincided with the Marlins losing 4 out of 5 to the Braves. They couldn't take advantage of that against a bad Braves team. The Braves aren't good. The Braves are not a good team. They had expectations at the start of the season. I thought they were going to win the division. But you fast forward to mid-August, early August, Braves aren't good. The Marlins should have performed better. And it starts with the top. It starts with management. Clayton McCullough had a very poor series. He made another bad decision in the first game of the Cleveland series. They lose that game 4-3. It's a gut punch. As soon as this team gives you hope, they find a way to take it away from you. 2023, you make the playoffs. Shockingly, Skip Schumacher is the manager of the year. The offseason happens. You don't do anything to improve the team. You sign Tim Anderson, who's been washed. Everything comes crashing down. You start a whole rebuild. And to be fair, you saw fruits. You're seeing fruits of the rebuild. You're seeing actual results. And I'm for that. But my point is that as soon as you have hope, it gets taken away. Instead of progression, over the last week, we're seeing regression. Pitching staff has been bad. The offense has been bad. You can't rely upon one or two guys and expect to win baseball games. You know, when Kyle Stowers is on, he's on. But if he's off and he's struggling, and sometimes that happens, it's baseball. Slumps happen. You're going to get in cold spells. You need the rest of the team to have your back, to elevate the collective group. And I don't think the Marlins do that. I think if they did do that at some point, we saw that during their winning streak. And the time in which they were playing really good baseball from early June to the end of July, which they had the second best record in baseball behind the Milwaukee Brewers. But now they're not doing that. Nobody is elevating their game to lift up their teammates and pick up that slack. The bullpen, Clayton McCullough, when it comes to management, he doesn't manage the bullpen well. And when you don't have starters that give you consistent results, then you have to have a bullpen in which you know how to operate it and they're effective. And both of those aren't true. McCullough's not managing them well, and the guys aren't pitching well. And that's what's going to lead you into this rut. You're now 5 games under 500. You're still on the road. You still have 2 more against the Guardians, and then it's off to Boston. And Boston's a really good team. Even without Rafi Devers, they have Bregman back. They got dudes all over. Roman Anthony, top prospect in baseball. Cedon Rafaela. Jarren Duran. It's not going to let up for the Marlins. And the season is going to get away from you if you don't kick it into gear right now. Like today. 5 games under 500. The Diamondbacks have passed you in the standings. I want to talk about the pitching staff, both starters and relievers and bullpen management. It's all been bad. That's coming up right after this. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope, you called the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If you used to juggle 2 phones to keep your business calls and your personal calls separate, OpenPhone solved that instantly. And when you get home, you want to spend time with your family, put on the Marlins game. The AI agent handles those after-hours calls, so you don't have to worry about missing a customer again. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Marlins listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. I appreciate all the everyday listeners making Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine. We're over 2,000 subscribers now on the YouTube channel. So keep sharing the podcast. Keep watching. The season's almost over. Got a month and a half until we're hitting the end of September. So it's been a fun ride. Let's keep it up the rest of the way, no matter what happens with this Marlins team, even though they're not playing well right now. And part of the reason they're not playing well is because of poor pitching. It starts and ends with the pitching staff. So yesterday's game, Jansen Junk got the start. He did okay. It wasn't horrendous, but it certainly wasn't anything to write home about. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, didn't walk anyone. He struck out just 2. But really over the last 5 starts for Jansen Junk since the end of July, he's given up runs in bunches. He's not giving them an elite above average start. Everything's been subpar to average. So against the Royals, he gave up 6 runs, 4 earned. Against the Brewers, 3 runs over 5 innings, 6 runs against the Yankees, 3 runs against the Astros, and then yesterday, 3 runs against the Guardians. Hasn't eclipsed 5 innings in any of those starts. Nothing special right there. Eury Perez had his probably one of the worst starts at the worst time possible. If you exclude the starts at the beginning of the season in which he was getting in tune, getting back into the swing of things, Eury struggled mightily in Atlanta. He gave up 3 homers. You have Sandy Alcantara. It's been bad all season. He's inconsistent. He's not a pitcher that you can rely on in 2025. Cal Quantrill, 2 starts past the trade deadline. 4 1/3 against Houston, gave up 7 earned. It's pretty much an automatic loss right there when you give up 7 earned runs through 4 innings. And then 4 innings on 47 pitches against the Braves before he was taken out. He won't go past 5 innings. The pitching staff has to rely upon the bullpen when you have inconsistent starters. The only starter that I really believe in at this point that can give you an elite start, well, there's 2 of them. Edward Cabrera and Eury Perez. More about Eury later. I think he rebounds today. But, I mean, Cabrera's that guy. He's been awesome. But behind him, behind Eury, if he gets back on track, Sandy, Junk, Quantrill, you don't trust any of them. And that's why the bullpen is so imperative. And that's why managing the bullpen is so imperative. So, in yesterday's game, in the bottom of the 7th, Clayton McCullough brings in Ronnie Enriquez, the Marlins' best reliever, to face the 8-9-1 pocket of the Guardians lineup. The bottom of the order plus Stephen Kwan. In the bottom of the 8th, he brings in Calvin Fauché to face 2-3-4, including Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez homers off Fauché. Marlins go down in the 9th. That's all she wrote. Cleveland wins the game. It doesn't make sense that you're bringing in Ronnie Enriquez to face the bottom of the order when he's your best reliever. And in the 8th inning, you have Jose Ramirez. If you don't want to operate with a traditional setup man, a traditional closer, traditional 7th inning guy, it is what it is. You work with these pockets, have your best reliever face the best part of the lineup, whether that's the 8th inning or the 7th inning. The issue is Enriquez, his pocket should have been the bottom of the 8th. When he's facing Jose Ramirez, the Guardians' best hitter, a superstar. Calvin Fauché had a very up and down season. And even if you want to go that route, even if you throw Enriquez in the 7th and he goes 8-9-1, there's potentially an argument for him to face 2-3-4. He threw 11 pitches. Why is he automatically done after just 11 pitches? He threw 2/3 of an inning the entire Atlanta series. but we're going to baby the best reliever on the team at a critical juncture in the season. With each loss, the season is sailing away. You're looking at the ocean, you're looking at the horizon, and that ship keeps getting farther and farther away. And it used to be right here. It was at your fingertips. It was conceivable that if the Marlins just continued playing good baseball, they were going to finish with a winning record and potentially sneak into the playoffs. You had an Astros team, okay, you lose 2 out of 3, 5 games against a bad Braves team, and you throw Enriquez 2/3 of an inning. That's mismanagement. But let's say you do take Ronnie Enriquez out of the game after the 7th. Why are you giving the ball to Calvin Fauché? Lake Bacher, statistically, is better against lefties than Fauché is. Lake Bacher hasn't given up a home run against left-handed hitters all season long. A batting average of 168 against lefties. And he was rested. He pitched on the 10th. So 2 days ago, before yesterday's game. And before that, I think it was like the 6th. You don't have a lefty weapon that you can utilize. You option Cade Gibson. Josh Simpson isn't a high leverage arm. So if you want to go with a right-handed pitcher, then go with the guy that has better numbers against lefties. Of course, you bring in Fauché, who's given up multiple homers to left-handers this season. Last year, he didn't give up a homer all year. This year, it's like at 5. He's not a trustworthy reliever. And they paid for it. Walker should have been in if you took Enriquez out, but your first mistake was not putting Enriquez to face Jose Ramirez. Or at the very least, you run him back out there for the 8th. Are you going to, if you lose, at least go down with your best guys and say, hey, he got us fair and square. But don't make a subpar decision and then just say, well, it is what it is. On to the next one. No, you at some point there has to be accountability. For the starters, they have to do better. Sandy Alcantara, man, like, you are the Marlins face of the franchise. He has to be better. He hasn't been good. I don't know how else to put it. Eury is young. I'm excited for his start today. 3 homers his last time out. I think he's going to shine again. And anytime you get a good outing out of Eury or Cabrera or any starter for that matter, then you're going to have a chance to win. But that also means the bats have to get back to where they were. They have to start scoring runs. Hopefully Eric Wagaman's not in the lineup again, because what did he do yesterday? Let's see what Wagaman did. He had 1 at bat and he struck out, but he walked 3 times. That's surprising. I was just talking about Wagaman and his inability to draw walks, so he must have listened to the episode and then improved his plate discipline overnight. So good on Wagaman. Good on Eric Wagaman. You draw your walks, you get on base. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about Eury Perez. I'm excited for his start, but the Marlins have to right the ship, and they have to do it now. The rest of this series against the Guardians and this weekend against the Red Sox is going to define the Marlins season. I'm going to tell you why right after this. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you ever wonder what your seat is going to, the vantage point you're going to have from your seat, what you're going to see, Gametime has that feature. It's panoramic seat view. You see exactly the view. And also, all-in pricing is my favorite aspect of it. The price you see on the app is the price you're going to pay at checkout. There's no hidden fees. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel if you haven't already. But remember that Locked On Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms out there. So if you're not watching on your phone or your laptop or your TV, you can listen to it wherever you are. Eury has the start today against the Guardians. I'm super excited for it because this is a must-win. And honestly, the rest of the series is a must-win. And heading into Boston, that's a must-win. Miami has to start winning again if they don't want this season to evaporate in front of them. I'm looking at the standings right now for the National League wild card, and all of a sudden, the Marlins find themselves the last kind of contender that could conceivably make a run. They're at the bottom of the pack. You have the struggling New York Mets currently occupying that final spot. Then it's the Reds, 5 over. The Cardinals, the Giants, 2 games under. The Giants are 2. The Cardinals are 1 game over. And then the Diamondbacks at 58 and 62. And the Marlins at 57 and 62. So technically, the Diamondbacks, who traded Merrill Kelly, Eugenio Suarez, and Josh Naylor, technically, they're ahead of the Marlins in the standings. That's not good. And when you look at the Marlins, they're 3-7 over their last 10, 2-7 since the start of the Astros series. It's been a huge missed opportunity. Eury has to pitch like an ace today. For whatever reason, Marlins pitchers, Marlins players, the Marlins team struggles in Atlanta, and that was no stranger to Eury Perez, the truest house of horrors. Gave up 3 bombs. But on the season, Eury's still a stud. But what I want to see from him, and this is just for his career as a whole, but especially at this point in the season, is more consistency out of his breaking pitches. So out of the slider, out of the curveball, the sweeper that he dabbles in, but especially the slider and the curve, they've got to be better. The slider has a good whiff rate on the season at 40 2/3, but it gets hit more than the fastball does. It's getting hit at a 243 clip. There's some location issues with it. Sometimes he'll throw his slider and it's just not competitive. It's way outside the zone, like he's yanking it. And the curveball, I like the curveball when it's dialed in at the bottom of the zone, at the knees, but it only has a 13.3% whiff rate. I think that's something for possibly in the offseason, Daniel Moscas, Bill Hazel, they can work with him, tweak the shape a little bit, try to get it to be more of a true swing and miss pitch. The slider is a swing and miss. The fastball, it's probably one of the best, if not the best fastball in baseball. throws it at 98 miles an hour. If you go to Savant, run value by pitch, it's a positive 12 run value on the four seam. 92 percentile, 92nd percentile. But I love that Eury has the gas, and he just fires that four-seamer in there at the top of the zone, gets the swings and misses. But if he can locate the slider and locate the curve, then he's going to be unhittable. And you can't leave your four-seamer, no matter how good it is, over the heart of the plate. Go ask Drake Baldwin that. He was the Braves catcher. He homered off him. Eury is really good. He's still so young. He's just 22 years old. Even with the start against the Braves, his ERA on the season is 3.25. And I like this matchup against the Guardians. The Guardians don't scare me offensively. They have one player that really should strike fear in any pitcher's heart, and that's Jose Ramirez. But besides him, Eury should dominate this lineup. Just like I think Edward Cabrera is going to dominate this lineup on Wednesday. Or on Thursday, rather. And that's what they need. The Marlins need their two aces to right the ship and stop the bleeding. Put the tourniquet on it. Don't let this thing get away from you. You're 5 games under. You win the next 2. You're back to 3 under. Then it's off to Boston. Play really good baseball. And there's a chance. There is a chance. You got the green monster in Boston. You know, maybe Kyle Stowers is just going to play pepper with it. Go opposite field. We know he likes hitting opposite field home runs. Augustin Ramirez, all the power. I want to see the power increase a little bit too. You know, singles are great. Xavier Edwards on the season now. He's having a really good year. I had it pulled up. Let's see here. Xavier Edwards' average climbed above 300 on the year. It's at 304. He got a hit yesterday. But once he gets his hits, I need the big mashers in the lineup to drive him in. Get back to scoring those runs and pouring them on. Even in the Brave series, there were a couple games in which you scored runs, but you went cold. It's got to be consistent. First inning through the 9th inning. I like the Marlins' chances to finish this Guardian series. Huge game today. You can't go to 6 games under. It can't happen. But we're going to know at the end of the Guardians series, at the end of the Red Sox series, by next Monday, whether there's a chance this team can still play their way into the postseason. Because the way they were playing from June through July, second best team in baseball, that was a playoff team. That was a team that was winning. That was a legitimate contender during that stretch. No matter who you think should be starting or not, guys were contributing. You were getting elite stuff out of the starters, out of the relievers. And that can still happen, but it has to happen now. And I feel confident in Eury. I feel confident in Edward that they get these 2 wins. Marlins, they pain me at times. They make me frustrated. At a time like this in which you have everything in front of you, and now it's 4 straight losses. That's why I wrote on the breakdown for those watching on YouTube. It's a gut punch. It's an absolute, momentum is just sapped away. You feel down, but you got to get back up. And there's nobody I'd rather lead this charge and get the Marlins a couple of wins heading into Boston than Eury and Cabrera, because those are the pitchers I have the most confidence in. Let's go out and get these wins. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, a recap over on the Locked On MLB channel. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.